No offers yet. Something you don't want to hear when you are selling your home. However, here are 17 ways to unblock your sale. This is going to be a brilliant topic. Now, as always with these shows, if there is anything, you can either click the link and read the blog because there's going to be lots of information for you to go back to. Likewise, something we also love is if you've got any of your own hints and tips, or perhaps you need some advice, put it in the comments, ask us those questions, give us your case studies, because we're here to help ultimately, and we love to hear obviously what you're saying. But no offers yet. That is not a position that you want to be in when you've hit the market and you've decided we're selling our home, because if there is anything, it is those illusions of selling your home and starting that new exciting chapter. Because as we always say, you're moving house for a reason. There's a reason behind it. So you've got your plans in your head, you've got it thought out. Never did you think you were going to be sitting on the market without receiving just even one single offer, whether that be that you're not getting any inquiries whatsoever, or perhaps there's like a wee trickle or a little every now and again, or there's perhaps actually plenty of viewers, but nobody that's actually taking that bite and progressing and even perhaps coming back for that second viewing. And it is so disheartening for you as a seller, but also for us as obviously agents as well. With any agency, we want to get you moved on in your journey.
It's such an exciting time, as you say, isn't it? And
yeah.
It's a momentous decision to put your property on the market as well, isn't it? So, but then once you've done it, you've got this excitement, the urgency, and you're thinking, right, we're going. And you might have actually been really proactive and looked for your next place too, and perhaps seen the house you want, but you're frightened to do anything about it because you haven't got an offer yet. So there's a lot of emotions going on at this time, Sophie, isn't there?
Absolutely, it is. Because then with that, naturally kind of frustration kicks in, and then you start to wonder, and your mind kind of starts going into spiral mode, and questions then start coming up. And especially if you're speaking with family and friends as well, you then get questions. Is it the market? Is it perhaps my price? Is there perhaps other competition? Is it like, what is it? And you start to question it. And then perhaps on top of that, if you aren't getting kind of enough substance from your agent and they're not giving you those tangible answers, you kind of then feel a wee bit in the dark and you're not too sure where to go, and you're not really sure how you move forward from that. So to try and obviously help, because ultimately that's what we're here for, we've sat and we've compiled kind of 17 ways to unblock your sale and get your move perhaps back on track. So this is a really handy guide, really useful. We're going to run through the topics, but as I say, if there is anything, put it in the comments. We would love to hear. The topics that we're going to cover, for example, is perhaps could your presentation be improved? Is there unfinished projects or repairs or little niggles that actually something so small could create such an impact? And actually, this is a show that we did quite recently, wasn't it, Perrie? Actually, if you invest that £1,000, it could potentially add X, Y, and Z onto your sale price and get you that sale. That was a good one. Are you making the most of every room? Are we really showcasing every room and the space and the size? A key one here, and we really do speak about this often, is does your pricing strategy perhaps need that review? What does your pricing look like now? Yes, maybe when you went on the market, it was perhaps right for the market at the time, but what is it telling us now? Has there been new properties come to the market that are potentially more kind of price competitive? And also, what is your agent doing for you in the terms of selling? Are they being proactive? Are they coming up with the solutions? Are they reviewing it with you? Are they giving you that confidence that they're not just kind of in the background forgetting about it and just crossing the fingers and hoping for the best because it's on Rightmove? What is your agent doing for you and proactively finding your buyer? So that's the topics we're going to run through, because actually, from our experience of all the homes that we've sold, the solution is often an easy fix, quick detail that perhaps only takes a fresh pair of eyes. And that really is the secret to perhaps finding your buyer. Let's kick it off, Perrie. Presentation.
Yeah, so how can your presentation be improved? The perfect presentation, for me, it's got many faces, hasn't it? It can be from your photographs presentation, it could be your online presentation and how that's been marketed. Do you even have a video? that shows people what your house looks like. Because if the agent that you have just does photos, is it really presenting all of the value that your house can offer? Sometimes that can't be seen. For me as well, it's, have we actually presented the lifestyle someone gets from a home? Because people don't just buy a home, they want a lifestyle as well from that home. It's maybe the work, it's maybe their social experiences. So do they like cold water swimming? Do they like running? Do they like walking? Do they have lots of activities for the children? But also we talk about emotion a lot, don't we, Sophie? And for me, it's like, even the physical viewing when it takes place, are the viewers getting that emotional feeling? How does it feel? How does it smell? How does it sound? Is it too hot? Is it too cold? You know, it's all of these things that you have to really look at, and it really makes a big, big difference. It might sound that you've got everything right, but it's actually fairly simple formula, and it works every time. So what we do is we look at starting by your curb appeal, because again, we get the situation where people might book a viewing and they'll do a drive past and then they won't turn up, or they'll phone the agent and say, actually, we've done a drive past, we're not going to bother with this one, it's not for us. And we need to really understand why they think that. So your curb appeal is really huge. So check for opportunities that you can improve on the outside. So is it welcoming? Is it inviting? Look at things like simple tasks as well. And this is what you're saying about how that lady spent £1,000 to improve her house. You don't even need to spend money when it comes to the curb appeal. You know, if you've got white windows and they're covered in dust because maybe you're near the roads, or you're maybe in the East Nuke, for instance, and you're along the beach side where there's sand and everything blowing around, you know, so is the frontage clean and fresh looking? That's a big thing. All that needs is a bucket and some soapy water. You can take care of that in no time, can't you? So for me, that's a real big thing. It's also, if we're getting to that time of year as well, where it's kind of that autumnal piece. So we sometimes see maybe by 4 o'clock, it's a bit more dusky looking in regards to the light. So again, if someone's coming to do a late viewing, does it feel bright and light? If you've got long pathways, are they illuminated in some way? If you've got a nice driveway, is that illuminated? Because there's something warm about the light as well that just will appeal to people. So what does that look like for yourself? If you've got a wooden front door, for instance, and you've not painted it for years and there's flaky bits, you know, is it worthwhile actually just spending a nice dry Saturday and just giving that the once over? You would be surprised how much that would pop a property as well. It really improves it. Again, you've got so many beautiful autumnal colours. So have you got the opportunity maybe to put hanging baskets at your front door, perhaps pots by the door? You know, a little tip from me as well, and I've mentioned this before, is always do that in 3s and 5s as well. It's more appealing, the shape looks nicer. So rather than just having 2 static pots, you know, maybe put 3 in a corner, but, you know, have different sizing, but just have them staggered, and that just looks so nice as well. And a really simple one, we get it quite frequently actually in our property. So we've got quite an open driveway. We've had lots of wind recently. Sometimes things will get blown up the drive. So, you know, maybe someone's littered and there's crisp pack, or there's an empty juice can that's rolled into the driveway. Small thing, but if you've got that situation for yourself, just pick that up and put it away. Because again, what it tells someone, if they see that, if they're looking at your curb appeal, is this isn't really cared for. So if this is what the outside's like, what is the inside going to be like?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that can really put people off, can't it? So that would be my first thing, is looking at your curb appeal. Keep your inside as well. So let's go inside the property. Keep it clutter-free. I know that's really challenging. It's really difficult when you're selling a house, because you've staged it for your photos and your video work that we would do, of course. And then you're having to live like that and not make a mess. So it's really difficult to do that. And we totally get that, but try and keep it clutter-free. But actually, if your agent is having an honest preparation discussion with you as a potential seller before you've marketed, that's the kind of thing that you should be discussing anyway. So certainly we would, you know, we would often say, because there's no nice way to say to somebody, your house has got too much stuff in it. But it's, you know, you have to have that conversation, you know, do you want me to sugarcoat it, or do you want me to give you some feedback on how we should stage this if you go to market? So it's important that your agent's done that already. And if you still are living in your property and you've decluttered, again, we've done shows about decluttering. We've also done shows about how to be ready for your viewing. So if you've got a young family, really tricky to do that. You've got toys everywhere, perhaps. Get a big crate. The kids can live how they want to live. And then when you know you've got viewings taking place, just pack it all into the basket. Stick it in the garage, in the shed, in the boot of the car if you've not got an outbuilding, just anything really for when that viewing takes place, because then the property is staged again. We sold a house recently and I was doing the viewings and we did the final viewing, and afterwards the client came back to me and he said, Perrie, he says, I'm just so pleased with the way that everything's gone. Fantastic offer, property sold in 8 days. He was over the moon with that. But his main feedback to me was, trying to live with a staged house, he says, it's really tricky. It's really tricky. He says it's so stressful trying to keep everything clean and making sure the fresh flowers are in the house, and if anything's out of place, putting it back. And he said we got to the stage where if we put something down, it was like, you can't leave that there, you have to move it. He said we took it to extreme where we became a bit obsessive about it. So we don't want you to be feeling, we don't want to put kind of pressure on you and make you feel that way. You can have quite a relaxed experience if you just follow some of these little tools that we're giving you. So just put everything back in a crate and shove it away. You can bring it back out when the viewings have taken place, and then you can still feel like you're living in your home, because it is quite a tricky one, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Keeping shelves tidy is a big thing as well. Don't overclutter shelves, because again, if you're a reader, for instance, you've got lots of books, that's great if you've got maybe a nook and it's designed as a reading room. But if you've got your lounge and it's just, you've got lots of shelves and everything's stuffed with like books and knickknacks that you've got, that can put people off as well, because that's all they'll see. They won't see the actual natural space. So really important as well to show off natural space as well. Really simple thing as well, and you don't often think about it, but even polishing your surfaces. If you've got glass, making sure that they're clean. If you've got mirrors that are focal points in your property, make sure that they're dust free. And actually even your windows, are they clean and bright? Because you want as much natural light coming in. But if that natural light's coming in and it's bouncing off mirrors and they're all streaky, it just doesn't give that appeal to someone, does it? Again, it's this it's cared for feeling, isn't it?
And something actually people seem to forget to dust: lampshades and bulbs as well. Don't forget to do that, because that makes an impact even on the light that it obviously puts out. But don't forget to dust your lampshades and light bulbs. That's a top tip.
That is a big thing as well, because often we'll go to properties and you'll see that and all the cabling's running down too, and all the cables are covered in dust. It's not a great thing. So that's the kind of curb appeal, that's the inside. But also then, rather than just doing the things, we talk about the emotion part and the smell and the feel. So scent is a big thing. I've sometimes done my videos and I've walked into a house. We had one in London Links recently, and afterwards I had to ask our client what it was that they had in the room, because as soon as I opened the door, the smell was incredible, but in a good, positive way. It was just fantastic. And actually on my video, because I was so focused on it, it hit my emotion. I instantly said, I wish we had smell-o-vision, because this is incredible, this room. And it was just, this whole sense of the house was fabulous. But it gave me such a positive experience. So if that happened to me, that's going to happen to everyone that goes into that room. So think about the scent as well. Be mindful of cooking overly smelly things. So you don't want to be doing curries and fish and things like that on a day of a viewing, because it's always going to be smelt when that door opens. So again, think about those things. Make sure you regularly empty your bins as well. There's nothing worse if maybe your bins have got 3 days worth of rubbish in it, and then you do a viewing, you've tidied everything else up, but you've got about the bucket, because actually when you go into the kitchen or the utility room, that's what you're going to smell. So be careful of that as well. Avoid smoking indoors is a big thing. Again, we often say that to sellers, you really want to be making sure that that happens. And I know this is a tricky one, because we all love our little fur babies. But again, if you've got dogs or cats, make sure litter bins are emptied. If you've got the dog, again, maybe even put the dog's beds and things away into the car or into the outbuilding. So again, that's just fresh. Try and go with natural scents as well if you are having to put natural scents in. So I would suggest candles or plug-ins or melts or something. Don't go with your tin spray through your house, because actually that is overpowering and it's really cloying, isn't it? So, I've done that before when I've gone into a property and they've given it a quick spray and it's like, oh, I'm choking on this, and it's not a great experience. So just think about how you're getting your scents as well. Natural ones to have are lavenders, vanillas, sandalwoody smells. They're all really nice smells, and they're quite comforting and warming at this time of year. So they're ones that I would totally recommend. You don't need to be spending a fortune on them either. You can nip down to B&M's or Home Bargains and get them in there. They're fantastic. Actually, Home Bargains do a great one, and I'm so frustrated because every time I go in, they're that popular, they've never got any left. But they have a cedar and orange one, and it smells incredible for this time of year. So definitely would recommend something like that. It's really nice smells. But there's so much more we can talk about, and we're going to get onto that. So that's what your presentation can kind of slight improvements that actually are cost-free, almost. Because not everyone wants to be spending more money, aren't they? But then we look at the unfinished projects and repairs. That can be a big thing, Sophie, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we all have that jobs list, and it's just a case of dedicating that time and getting those jobs done. Because yes, whenever you start a home improvement, you've got that clear picture on what the end is going to look like. But if you perhaps then don't finish those jobs and you go to market, does your buyer perhaps share that same vision? Can they see past the unfinished work? Because it's not everybody can. Some people can envision it and some people can't. It's just one of those things. And photography isn't going to convey that. And yes, perhaps we've done it, haven't we, Perrie, where we've obviously, due to circumstances, we've had to sell properties that are perhaps halfway through renovations. In our video works, yes, we can speak through and educate and say, you know, this is how you could finish it and do that. But not every agency does that. So you're reliant on those photography and that obviously perhaps description, doing that really heavy lifting for you and kind of painting that final picture, which isn't easy if somebody isn't within that mindset to be able to do that. Because as well, I think it's also a mindset that people automatically see unfinished projects or perhaps repairs and they just start seeing pound signs. That is all that's going through is the pound signs. But it's also not even the pound signs. I get it quite a lot in the East Nuke, Perrie, but yes, it's not even just the pound signs, but it's also where am I finding a tradie that is available as well to finish the works? Because they've perhaps got like they've perhaps got a 6 to 12 month wait list, and they're like, well, I can't be living in this for 6 to 12 months. Like it's not even the money, it's the inconvenience as well. So people think about all this and then the upheaval, especially if it's perhaps a family home. They don't want to perhaps be bringing young ones into kind of repairs and projects. So doing that and leaving your home perhaps unfinished with repairs, also then people try to be cheeky with their offers as well. They do. They absolutely do, because they go, well, I've got to do that and that and that. And then before we know it, they're hitting 30 grand and they go, nope, it's too much for me. If perhaps you can maybe do the work yourself and that's where you were thinking with, but you've left it unfinished, it does have an impact. So really do try and streamline it and get those jobs finished. If you've started it, get it finished. Finish any decorating that you've started, even if you don't perhaps do what you originally set out to do. If you're perhaps doing a big project, like you were thinking, oh, I'm going to paint that wall and then panel that wall and do this, just finish the painting. Just get the painting, get it like a blank canvas for then your next person to come in, because we can see past a blank canvas. Absolutely, they can put their own stamp on it. Especially as well, I think people walking in, if it has all just been freshly painted, it kind of falls into line with what you were saying, Perrie, about the senses. If people walk into a property and they know it's just been renovated and they can smell the fresh paint, it gives that clean kind of, okay, this is a space that I can then just move into and make it my own. But even if there's little jobs, like, I don't know, if you've got tiling, you've got grouting, perhaps fitting skirting boards, if you've got some on and some off, get the rest fitted. Put them on because you've got them sitting there, because you've been and bought them, because you've already done some of them. So just dedicate that time to just get them finished. Perhaps door frames, perhaps, and it's not even internal jobs, it's the external jobs as well, because it's falling back into that curb appeal that you were speaking about. If you've got half-started jobs outside, as soon as somebody turns up and they see half-started things, they'll be like, oh, right, okay, so this is the outside. What's the inside going to be like? What am I walking into? And also, you don't want to look like you've started something here, then you've started something there, and then you've got a little bit of that. And then, because then people are like, okay, so hang on, how much have I got to do? Where do I need to do? And then go, right, make a list of everything that I need to do, because we've got odd jobs started here, there, and everywhere. And I like to use the classic phrase, half a job, Harry, because we have got half a job started everywhere. And that's really daunting for some people.
It's a really big thing, actually. But again, that could be a really positive reason as to why you're not selling. And the one thing I would say on this as well, I'm out to potential sellers at the moment, and many of them are saying, well, actually, you know, I'm going to be looking to sell and I want to be moving in spring. And I'm thinking, well, you've this job to do, that job to do, that job to do. Where are you going to get the tradespeople from? How much time is that going to take? You might be at the end of this year before you've got those jobs finished, because you've not got your tradespeople in place. You're then going to be marketing start of January. If you want to move in spring, that's not going to happen. If you want to move in spring and you have got things that you need to be doing, they need to be getting done now.
Yep.
And some people don't always plan ahead with that, and they think they can just make that call and then that tradesman's going to be available. Tradesmen are so booked out at the moment, and have been since COVID, since lockdown. Yep. Everyone is doing so many things now that people are booked in. Here's a prime example. We're putting a new kitchen in, and it's taken 4 months for them to come out and fit the kitchen. So, you know, if you're maybe doing a project like that because you've been renovating the home and that's the last one to be done, that's not just something you can do on a weekend. This is something that takes months of planning. So it really is important, if you have got that situation with projects or repairs, you need to be moving fast on those things. Don't be waiting until last minute thinking you can do that repair this week and then market your house next week, because actually that's never going to happen in today's world.
No, absolutely not. You need to allow room for error. You have to allow room for error in that. And speaking of repairs and Perrie, there is also something, and I see it quite a lot, particularly in the East Nuke again, because of the older style properties and the character properties. But the amount of times that I'll go out to a property, and obviously I am looking around, I'm assessing the room, and I see damp marks and damp staining, and they'll obviously see me looking, and I'll ask the question, they'll go, oh, it's like 4 years ago, we had a little bit of something, but it's all been fixed, it's all done, there's no damp, it's all good. And I'm like, well, we need to get that, we need to finish that. The final piece is getting that dealt with. So we need to do like your stain and blocker, we need to decorate it and get it, because yes, you're telling me it was perhaps 4 or 5 years ago there was that happened, and you've had, you know, tradie out, they've done the repairs, you've not had any issues since. Soon as somebody sees a damp stain or a water stain or anything like that, questions go into spiral mode.
Yeah.
Because as much as I can say that's historic, they don't hear that. They don't hear that. They are just looking at that stain, and then what they do is they say, okay, you've got one there. They then go to the real nitty gritty and they scan the rest of that property trying to find other things.
Yeah.
So I see it all the time, and they'll go, oh, it's nothing. I'll go, okay, that's great. Let's get it finished. Get the stain and blocker. Let's get it printed.
Especially if it's upstairs as well, though, Sophie, because then people think there's a problem with the roof. That's going to be expensive. Yeah, I'm out. And already that emotion and that positive experience is gone. You may as well just leave the property at that point, because you're never going to get an offer off someone that's like that, that has that mentality of your house. For a small thing, like you said, staining blocker, paint or paper, and the problem's resolved.
It's a big thing, it is, and I see it quite a lot. So there is that, and then there is recommend, you know, there is many repairs that we recommend sellers do and also complete to get the kind of property like in tip-top shape. Whether it be just dedicating that time, and it does, when we appreciate you've got a busy schedule, you've all got lives, we appreciate that, but actually the return that you could get from this and allow you to get moved on in your journey, it is just a case of dedicating that time. And I've been out with clients recently and they've said, we know what we need to do, we just need you. And sometimes I have to say that to them, and they're like, you need to hold us accountable, you need to be checking in with us, because if we know that we have to be ready in 4 weeks, we will make sure it's done. So sometimes clients need that kind of like pressure and be like, I work better under pressure, give me a deadline. And I'm like, if that's what you need from me, I'm almost like that person.
You, doesn't it?
I'm like Mr. Motivator, like a personal trainer, like checking in, like, where are we at, guys? Come on. So whether you need that, then fine. But what are we doing to get the work done? Because the reward just allows you to move on with your journey, and it has such a big return. So with that, then we've obviously discussed presentation. We've discussed those, you know, repairs and unfinished works. What would you say then is next, Perrie?
I think for me, it's making the most of every room as well. That's a big factor. So it's not true that buyers have got no imagination, but if you make it really hard for them to fall in love with a house and see each room for the benefit that it has, then actually they're less likely to offer. What you want is someone walking into it and imagining that this is a workable space and I could see my family living here. But if they're walking into a room that effectively acts like a cupboard because you've just filled it with stuff and you haven't really staged it to look like the functioning room that it is, then that can be really difficult for some buyers to see past, because all they can see is all of your things. So really important to design rooms as they are. I was out at a client yesterday, for instance. They had an extension to the back. At the moment, it's full of boxes. They're having those moved this weekend in preparation for the pre-portal next week. But the dining table was in the lounge. It made the lounge look smaller. And I said, for me, I would put that dining table in the extension, get a nice vase of flowers, bowl of fruit, whatever, show that as that separate functioning space. Don't just leave it empty, because actually people will come in and go, well, this is at the back of the house, what do I use it for? So it's really important to do those things. So that's really important. And again, can be really basic. So first thing, your living areas really should feel comfortable and spacious. People are looking for that. You want to walk into a room and feel the vibrancy of the room and the thoughts of, I can see myself in here with my family, chilling in the evening, watching a movie, reading a book, playing a game, something. But if they walk into a room and all they see is this full of things, oh, I don't know how this would work for us. Because in their heads, they're not looking at your room. Excuse me. What they're doing is they're saying, there's 4 of us, how are 4 of us going to live in this room? That's what they're thinking.
Yeah,
so that's a real big factor. So when they walk into that room, they want to see that it's comfortable and that that living space functions the way that it's supposed to function. Again, dining tables, I mentioned earlier on, avoid them just being empty. So I did a pre-portal the other day, and I've never had a client do this before, and it was fantastic. So, we'll say, put a nice bowl of fruit or some nice flowers. I went to this pre-portal to do it, and the client has the dining room. It's a spectacular house. It's unbelievable, and it's all open plan living downstairs. It's got a beautiful mezzanine. It's getting launched today, I believe. But actually had set the dining table with their best china, their forks, their spoons, all of their lovely cutlery. They had a bottle of Prosecco on the table. They actually had a little plate with fresh strawberry tarts on it. And I was like, what a brilliant idea. It was like staged into a different level. But in that particular property, it really, really worked. So I'm not saying you have to go to all of that effort, but, don't leave it empty. Nice flowers, big bowl of fruit, just something that makes colour pop from it as well. So, a nice bowl with like lemons and limes in it, it's a really nice thing to have on the table, or just some nice dried flowers. So that's a real big positive that you should be doing. But empty the dining table as well. So if the dining table acts as your home office, because people are working at home, of course they are, don't leave all your home officey stuff on that dining table. We've all done it. I've done it myself. You walk into the house, you put your work bag on the dining table, you put your phone down, you put maybe some files down, whatever you've got. You've been to the shops, you bought things, you don't want to run upstairs with it, you put it on the dining table. I'll do that when I go upstairs. We've all done it, haven't we? But don't just leave all that there, because again, what that's telling someone is the place is cluttered. So the viewers are coming in and they're thinking, this doesn't really function as a dining room for me. That's the first thing that they're going to think. So really simplistic things, keep it clean and fresh. Kitchens need to zing as well. They need to be seen as useful spaces, but also spaces where someone can visualize themselves working. So, for instance, I'm a baker. So again, you don't want lots of clutter in the room, but if your viewer potentially is a baker, we won't know that. Having maybe your mixer on the side, or having your spices available, or something that's telling them that they can come into this room and they can cook. So really important things to do. Simple things like even putting your recipe books out, an open page sitting on the side. Baker, bake a cake and just put it on the side. I used to have a client, this was about 2 years ago now, and when I went to do the viewings, every time there was viewings took place at the property, she would bake a fruit loaf of some sort. And it would be cooling on the side. But the emotional connection that the viewers had with that was first the smell, and secondly, when they walked in there, they could see this cake cooling. So straight away in their minds, they're thinking, oh, I could see myself in here on a Sunday morning baking my cakes and cooking for my family and entertaining. It was just such a positive vibe that it gave. So really simple things, again, cost-effective things that are just really about your time rather than anything else. So that's a really big thing. If you've got nice wooden chopping boards, as I said, it's great to have those out with your recipe books beside them. They really are a winning touch for viewers when they're looking at a house. Bathrooms are the next big thing for me, because they're the thing where if the house is going to have a smell, that's where it will be. If the house is not going to be clean, that's where it will be. So your showers, your cloakrooms, your bathrooms, give them the spa effect. Make sure you've got fluffy towels on display. That's always a good thing. Luxury soaps are a good thing too. You don't need to use them all the time. Even if you buy, like the Highland Soap Company, buy one of those, stick it on the side. They look exquisite, they feel appealing. It shows that, oh, this is nice. Oh, I like this. And it just gives that warm feeling to your viewer as well. Stylish accessories are a big thing for me. But they don't want to see your toothbrush, your toothpaste, your shower lotions. They all need to be in a cupboard. Again, as per my earlier guidance, a small little plastic tub, put them all in there, stick them in the cupboard out the way. You can bring them all back out again and live the way you live, but for the viewings, they need to be off display. People don't want to see the bottle of bleach sitting next to your toilet on the floor, because that's like, oh, that's a negative. The bleach is there because it's having to clean something. Oh, is this not clean then? This is the mentality of people, isn't it? So
Yes,
really important
absolutely.
with that with bathrooms. But what I would say with bathrooms, don't put floor mats down. Don't put them around your toilet bowls, your shower mats on the floor. People don't want to see that. They want the clean flooring. So again, important to do that. Bedrooms is the next thing because again, everyone wants a nice cozy luxury bedroom. So
Yeah.
again, you can get that hotel feel. Even if you've got a guest room that you rarely use, and that's where all your other stock goes and your boxes and your stuff that you don't want to put in your loft or whatever, you need to move all those things out and really stage it nice. Get nice smart linen, keep them well aired is always my thing as well, and fluffy pillows and cushions because you want people to walk into that and think, oh, I think I would get comfortable sleeping here. This would appeal to me. So that's really important. Outdoor space is the last thing for me, and that is about accepting that actually that's another room. People
100%.
now since lockdown, more so than ever, we're seeing that garden spaces are a big thing. There's lots of man cave, lady caves, whatever way you want to call them, but there's outside offices, there's seating arrangements, making sure that you make that space looks nice. So make sure you've got comfortable and relaxing seating, because again, what someone's doing when they come out into the garden is going, oh, I could see myself, nice big glass of wine. I can sit here on a Sunday afternoon and just chill. This would be great. So people want to have that feeling when they come to the garden. So planting your pots, some colour in the beds of your garden area as well. Lighting for the evenings is always a big thing. You get those outdoor mats as well, which really add pops of colour. So if you've got like a nice patio or decked area, those are great to have out as well, and just accessorise it a little bit. And then you can just put everything away, especially if it's winter. You can stage it for the viewing and then just put it all back away because you want to keep it good for obviously when the nicer weather comes. So these are little styling, and your personality is coming through as well that people want to see, and it appeals to them. So staging each room as a separate space for me is really vital. And then buyers do envisage themselves living in that home and how that space functions for them. The property a bit earlier on, the viewings that we did on that one, the feeling and the response from everybody was that one client actually says they've really staged this property well for selling. I've walked into every room and felt that I could live in this space. And that's really important. And we got that feedback from many people. So it just shows you with those little bits of trickery from yourself as a seller, it really does lead to healthier offers as well. And you won't be so frustrated. So for me, that's, and the offers I mentioned, that leads on nicely to your pricing strategy. What does that look like if you're not selling? And does that need to be reviewed? And has your agent even approached it? So Sophie, what's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And pricing is key. It really is. While it is quite personal, obviously, but it is absolutely key. And what, as you said, what is your agent doing? Whether you're given, whether you've been given an exciting or perhaps a disappointing number, ultimately your property is going to market at the home report value. But actually, are we being strategic with it? While we're not looking to overvalue a home, we're also not wanting to undervalue it. It's about getting it just right. But a show we did yesterday, Perrie, as well, which is key into this, is don't get hung up on historic, obviously, market trends. We're not in 2022 anymore. We're not in 2021 or 2020. We're in the now and present. So actually what we're doing for the pricing in the current market conditions, misleading valuations or kind of misguiding pricing can cause so many problems. And it ultimately puts that stop to you moving forward. And while we can give you all these hints and tips about presentation and the jobs and making the room works, if your property is way overpriced, that is going to kill you before they've even got through the door, because people will just scroll past.
It's the same as if it's undervalued as well, though, Sophie, isn't it? Because if it's undervalued, then people say, well, why is it undervalued? What's wrong with this house? So you have the negative on either flip of that coin, don't you?
You do. You have to get it just right. And it is all about using some top tips, but it comes right from the moment that you have that agent in front of you at that valuation. Don't be afraid to interview your estate agent and ask them, where did they get that number from? Especially if people perhaps got 3 estate agents out, for example, and you were looking to take an average. Don't always just hear a number and run with that number and get carried away. How are they demonstrating that to you? What evidence have they got? What are their value adds? Interview your estate agent, because this is your biggest asset in life, and you do not want to be in a position where you heard a high number, went with that, they did it to get the listing, to get the board up, because it absolutely happens, and then stuck on the market, stale, new properties are coming on in that time, they're getting over the line, and you're wondering what is wrong, and you've hit the market, and you have one opportunity to hit those portals and obviously have that impact. So if you're priced way too high or way too low, it can be detrimental. Is a really big thing to watch out for, and you have to make those informed decisions and interview your estate agent. But it's all about checking that your asking price reflects both the majority of the buys that you've been getting, but also, as I say, similar homes sold nearby, and is perhaps yours sticking out a wee bit too much. And also don't, if perhaps, for example, like I see it, where we are perhaps doing properties that are in kind of areas that are rarely available or in the middle of nowhere where there's no recent comparables, we can't then just go, what number do you need? What number do you want for it? Let's just go for that. Absolutely not. Get into the finer detail and look back. Okay, what's the floor area? What's your kind of plot size? What can we get as a comparable? And that is what your estate agent needs to do. And can they demonstrate that for you? So checking that the pricing absolutely reflects your home with recent comparables. Also, something as well, and I don't think people think about this, is the price banding that is used on these portals. In your lower price point homes, they go up in 10,000 increments. But then actually, as you get higher and you go over like your 300,000, for example, they go up 25,000 bands. And then when you go even higher, they go up in 50 bands. So if you a property, for example, I'm just going to pluck a number out the air, and we're talking 540. But the pricing bands at that is 500 or 550. You going on at 540, you are missing that audience. So actually, it's within your benefit to actually be at 550. I wouldn't be expecting you to take 40 grand off your home report, but actually, we can demonstrate to the surveyor that actually 550 will capture an audience and capture a market. So it's all about, is your agent being strategic with their pricing brackets as well, and what you're hitting the market at? And we're also not hitting the market at a 1,299.95, something really random like that. What are we doing with your price banding? Because that is crucial as well to capture the right audience. You don't want to get lost in the crowd. You don't want to be the most expensive in that pricing, but you also don't want to be the cheapest and get lost. Also as well, if you are trying a higher price to test the market, ask yourself, is this really going to work? Is this really beneficial? You know, if you perhaps think, oh, I should have had another 5 grand in my home, but I think it's worth this. In the bigger picture, that 5 grand could perhaps stop you moving on with your journey. So take a step back. Okay, that's what the saying the home report is. Let's go on to that, and then it's my agent's job to negotiate and get me that best price. But really, really work and really think about your pricing and having it priced just right. And if you aren't sure, speak with your agent. If you don't feel confident, get a second opinion. Don't be afraid to get that second opinion, because, as I said, this is your biggest asset in your life. And the right price attracts the right buyers. And we've seen that. We've sold a couple of properties at St Andrews Market. It's difficult at the minute. You know, if you do follow the market, you appreciate that St Andrews is difficult just now with a lot of changes and factors that came into play. So there's a lot of stock on the market, but we've had some brilliant results recently where actually, if you get it priced just accordingly, you get moved on. You know, there's been spot gardens sold within 3 weeks because it was priced accordingly. We've had Windrum, we've had Brewster Place. There has been some brilliant results and things going over the line. If you have it priced just right to attract the buyers, it's absolutely key if you want to get moved on. Which I think naturally then kind of flows into the next topic, Perrie, in terms of pricing. What is your agent then doing for you?
Oh, absolutely. Your agent is the driving force behind you moving. Absolutely. So if they're not filling you with confidence, staying in touch with you, keeping you appraised of what's happening, producing results, you've got to start challenging them and ask them what's happening. And there's some key questions that you could be asking to understand what they're doing. Are they being proactive, or is there a lack of proactivity? Are they actually being your obstacle and getting in your way from you actually moving on? And some questions you should be asking, we're going to cover, and they really should be the answers that you get here should make you decide really whether you continue with that agent or perhaps look at swapping them out. So for me, the key things you should be asking your agents, how are they working in their network of buyers for you? So, you know, are they generating that interest? Are they proactively calling people that they know are looking to buy property, advertising yours to them, reiterating it? Or are they just waiting on them? Let's put it on the portals and hope to see it on Rightmove or Zoopla. The phone's not ringing, but we'll wait till it does ring. So you've really got to challenge it, and how proactively are they doing that? So absolutely, have they got a daily activity plan on your property? Are they reaching out to potential buyers? Are they matching it to their databases and coordinating viewings from that? So that's really important. If they're relying on new inquiries constantly, then they pretty much are just waiting for someone to phone the office. Or they might see it on Rightmove, they might see it on Zoopla, no one's phoning. You know, are they looking at that activity? And are they looking at the portals and seeing what else is coming on in those areas? Or again, if a client is inquiring about a particular property and it's maybe with ourselves and it's unfortunately for them, it's gone under offer, are we cross-matching them with others saying, well, actually that one's under offer, but we've got this one that actually is very similar. Have you thought about that? And really promoting what is out there for them. And that can be a big thing. But if they're just waiting on that phone to ring, as I say, that's not a strategy and it's never going to get your house sold. The other thing to look at as well, we talked about presentation earlier on. So, you know, is it presented correctly? Is your description really putting out there all the benefits of the house? Are the photos really making it pop and stand above everyone else's? If you're with us, you get your video, so that tells them everything, and that does a lot of your heavy lifting if you're selling a property. But if you've got an agency that's just photos and descriptions, how are they really getting that whole emotion of your house over the line and making potential buyers really see it for what it is? So that's a big key thing, because you want your house to kind of be appealing and seductive to your buyers. You want your buyers to be saying, that's the house for me and I want to go view that. The feedback we get from the video work that we do, Sophie, don't we, is that 95% of the buyers who buy their properties with ourselves are already committed by the same number of 95% to buying that house, because they've seen the photographs, which are professionally taken. They've seen the aerial photography that we've done because it's maybe a lovely seaside or country location. They've seen the video. They've probably watched the video about 25, 50 times.
Yes.
Exactly. I get that all the time. And so by the time they actually then come to see it, it then comes down to just all the things we've talked about, the emotions, the smells, the feel. Will my furniture fit the way I think it's going to? But they're already bought into it by the time they come through. So if you're just reliant on photographs and description, it's going to be a tough gig. So it's making sure that your agent is really working that seductively and getting people through your door. Are they rotating the images, or is it basically when you listed it 3 months ago, it looks exactly the same today? You know, is there a revamp? Has your agency come to you and said, well, actually, what if we try this? What if we try that? And what if we swap some of these photos around? It may just capture a new audience.
Or even if perhaps you have been on the market for 3 months, what season did you enter the market at? And are we in a different season now? So also when people look on, they go, oh, that's old, because that's not the season we're in. So actually, have we gone back and done new photography as well to relaunch it almost?
Exactly. And it's exactly that. It's about reframing and reviving the property if it's been sat for a few months. How do you make it sing more? Because people are just swiping right past it now because they've seen it on the portals for such a long time. So it's really important that you do that with ourselves as well, because of our social media strategy. If we make changes like that as well, we relaunch it on our social media channels again, don't we? And we sponsor that campaign. So all the AI is built in and it's pushing it out to people on their phones. So everyone's getting to see it every day and it looks new and fresh. So they're not thinking, oh, hang on, I've not seen that. So, you know, it's really important that your agency is doing that for you. But the last thing that goes back to what you were saying, Sophie, is it just that it's overvalued? And that needs to be considered. And if you can demonstrate that you've received misleading advice as the seller, you may be able to free yourself from that agency and go somewhere else. You know, some of them tie you into lengthy contracts. Again, important to understand that before you start your journey. But if it turns out that you need to go somewhere else and you do look to engage another agent, learn from perhaps what you didn't ask the first time round and challenge that second one, because just jumping ship and getting the same thing is not going to give you the delivery that you want. So what are they going to do that's different? So not only you want to challenge them and get them to demonstrate what they're going to do that's different, but also you want them to be able to show you the evidence of it. So there's ours, for instance. People go into our website, they see our Esther's reviews. It's the Oscars of the estate agency world. It's the only agency reviews that happen from your customers. It's not a business thing, it's your customers' thoughts and feedback. Anytime I visit a client, I will direct them to that to get the feedback. That's important, because then what you're getting there is real life experience from sellers and buyers who are being honest and open about the experience that they had with us and how we worked with them. And that's important to understand as well. But if you've not got visibility on that and you're just relying on an agent telling you that, then I would be challenging that. I'd be wondering why that information wasn't available to me. So definitely challenge if you're thinking of swapping before you just jump ship, because actually that can hinder you even more so, because you could just be jumping from one frying pan into another. You want to be feeling yourself as well, like it's a whole new listing. Because actually as well, if you think about it, if you're getting potentially looking to engage another agent, and I hate to say this the way I'm going to say it, but I will, a lot of damage has been done.
100%.
So just think about that. A lot of damage has been done. It's already been advertised. People have seen it out there. A new agency just listed does exactly the same thing. People saying, well, okay, well, that didn't sell. They're trying someone else. What's going to happen here? It has to look different and it needs to reach a new audience. And so you have to be more creative about it. So for me, that's a real big thing as well, because the new agency has to work even harder now to try and sell it.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's a real big thing for me. And to be honest, you deserve a fresh start. If you've had a really horrible experience, you want a fresh start with somebody new that's going to really revive your property. We had that in a property in Drumeldry. It was on the market with someone for 4 months. The client didn't get a single viewer. They came with ourselves. We did the video work. It went out on the social media channels. It had all the sponsorship, reached a whole new footprint of audience. We sold it in 2 weeks for over the home report price. So it's really important that you challenge that new agency. How are they going to do it and how are they going to work? And can they actually show that they've done it before? Because if they can't, then you're really not going to get any benefit from it.
Yeah, don't jump. Yeah.
So that's really important for me. And you want to unblock, that tunnel that you're in, and you want to get sold, don't you? That would be my final words, to be honest with you.
I think that's good final words, Perrie. I think that's a good final word to end on. Absolutely. That's perfect.
Brilliant, lovely. And as Sophie said earlier on, the link is in the post. So if you want to read the article, it'll take maybe 8-10 minutes to read it, but it's some really good tips. And again, if you have experience of this, whether it's positive, negative, we love to hear your comments and your questions, because again, it gives us something and information to share with everyone, but also allows us to understand, your pain points and how we can perhaps prevent someone else experiencing that. And that's it from us today, I think.
Perfect. There we go. Right.
Until next time. Take care.
Bye.